Welcome to the Shoulda Bet More podcast presented by Gold Boys. Coming up on the show, Jason McIntyre from Fox from Colin Cowherd Show will join us. We'll talk some NBA Finals. We'll talk some WNBA. It has been quite the whirlwind, really, since even when I recorded Sunday talking about the incident on Saturday. It was just kind of a throwaway minute or two where how poorly the league was treating Clark, and it has taken on a life of its own the last couple of days. So we'll talk to Jason here. Maybe I'll touch on it here in a minute too. But the finals are here, almost here, day or so away, depending on when you're listening. And Jason has actually been on the Mavericks for a while. I think he's got some futures tickets on him. So I'm excited to talk to Jason. But I'll start with the finals as we are getting closer and closer. And I've kind of hinted at it. I'm going to pick Boston in 7. I just feel like if you listen to most people, you would think Dallas is the favorite. I understand all of the concerns with Boston. They haven't played anyone. They haven't looked good. The Indiana series was concerning. Cleveland beats them by 30 in Boston. Miami has a game where they make Boston look bad and get game 2 of that series. I get it. And if it's a game 7, like I think, and it's tied with 2 or 3 minutes to go, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised. I'd probably be, if it came down to that, I'd probably favor Luka and Kyrie in a tight spot. I just think Boston, when you're picking sides, playground style, okay, maybe you like the 2 guys on Dallas more than you like the 2 guys on Boston. I can certainly see that. But when you're picking sides, playground style, the next 3 or 4 guys are probably going to all be Celtics, whether it's Jrue Holiday, Porzingis, who looks like he's good to go here, Derek White, even throwing Horford, who knows his way around a big game. I just think Boston has more depth, more talent. And at the end of the day, this is still a Boston team that was absolutely dominant during the regular season. They are 12-2 in the playoffs, and Dallas was a 5 seed. So you could say, hey, throw those records out with Dallas because they made all these trades. It's a different team. There's obviously some truth to that. I completely understand that. And I do that. Look, it's not like I'm picking a Boston sweep here. I'm just going to go with Boston in 7 because they do have the 7th game. And I just think they'll be able to spread Dallas out and make them guard everybody. There have been guys on Dallas's opponents, Minnesota and OKC. Like, you didn't have to guard Josh Giddey on OKC. You didn't have to guard Gobert on the perimeter. You didn't have to guard these guys on the perimeter. Boston, they can spread you out and they can make you guard all 5 guys on the perimeter. I think that'll be an interesting and different challenge for Dallas. Should be a good series, a long series. It's 2016 is the last time we've had a game 7 in the NBA Finals. So we had that one, 2013 Spurs Heat. Lakers had one against the Celtics in 2010. So we went a while. 2005. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. 2005 Celtics, Pistons, Spurs went 7. So we went a while there where every few years you got one. Jordan famously never played a game 7, but we went a few years where we got one, or we went like a decade, 15 years where we got one every few years. It's been a long time. 8 years without a game 7 in the NBA Finals is a long time. Dallas would certainly break some trends here of teams winning championships. It's not very rare that you win a championship after not making the playoffs the year before. I think it'd be the 7th team all time to do that. I think Bill Simmons had that stat, and not a lot of 5 seeds win championships. I know they've made trades, and I know there's some reasons why they've played better here. I'm going to go with Boston here. Would I be shocked if Dallas won? I wouldn't. I do feel like Boston's being a little bit discounted here, and I get the reasons they're being discounted. There's this push and pull of, okay, Boston hasn't played anybody, but you can only beat who's in front of you, and this back and forth, and all of it's true, all of it's fair. I'm excited to watch the series. And the layoff doesn't even bother me. I kind of enjoyed not having the games. It definitely, I think that Sunday a couple days ago, it felt like the first Sunday of summer where first time in a while you had no NBA playoff games, you had no March Madness games. It was just kind of all baseball. It felt like summer had arrived. So excited to get it going. I do think it'll be a long series. I'll go Boston in 7. Wouldn't be shocked if Dallas won. And we haven't been great picking these series, to be honest. So if you're, if you have bets on Dallas and you hear me pick Boston, maybe that's a good thing. And it's interesting how home court I've talked about this before, it just hasn't mattered. And I heard a theory that maybe it's the fact that there's reviews now, and in the 90s or the 80s or early 2000s, if you weren't sure about a call, just give it to the home team. And there wasn't these officials weren't under a microscope like they are now. Or now, if you make a bad call, it's gonna be on Twitter 1,000 times, gonna get reviewed. I think that element does help the road team, and we've seen these road teams not only be competitive and hold their own, but win more than the home teams for whatever reason. Boston hasn't even lost on the road this postseason. Their 2 losses came at home, both in game 2. So should be a fun series. I'll go Boston in 7. Quickly before we get to Jason, the WNBA, I mean, I killed them on Sunday. It's amazing the things that have happened since, just the little media wars between Stephen A. Smith and McAfee. And McAfee was not criticizing Clark. McAfee was mimicking the people that were criticizing Clark. And why he apologized, I guess, using the language he used, I understand, but he wasn't calling her that. He was mimicking the players and the media saying that's what they're calling her, which I think there's a lot of truth to. So good for him for sticking up for her. Angel Reese crediting herself with the popularity of the WNBA. I mean, there's just so many different angles to go to. I am rooting so hard for this league to just fail and bomb. I can't stand the fact that they've cried all these years, hey, you don't pay enough attention to us. Now they get the attention that, hey, why are you giving us all this attention? It's really so hypocritical in so many ways, and they've complained for years too. Hey, more people need to support us. More people need to support the WNBA. You don't even support each other. You got your meal ticket here, your most popular player. I know she's on a bad team and she hasn't played great, but your most popular player, a player that's going to put money in all of your pockets, and you're treating her like this. So they're too dumb to succeed. I hope they fail. I hope this is, all this attention. You could say, hey, it's good for the league. I don't buy it. I think it's a black eye for the league. I think it's a bad look. I hope they all fail because of it. I am rooting so hard for all of these players, the guy, whoever runs the league. I hope all of it just falls on its face. It's such a bad look in so many different ways. They do not deserve to succeed. They've been irrelevant for 25 years. I hope they go back to irrelevance. I can't stand any of it. Absolutely any of it. And Clark, give her credit. Clark, all she does is play basketball. She, she wears it well. I think that's part of it too. Why a lot of these players don't like her, and there's plenty of reasons, and none of them are really fair. It's the attention. There's a race element. It's the fact that she doesn't really do the activism stuff like the rest of them are always trying to out for a cause. Clark just, she keeps her mouth shut and she plays basketball. And I know she talks a lot on the court, but off the court, she's not a big activist. So I'm rooting against all of it. I hope all of it fails. We'll talk to Jason about it coming up. He's got strong opinions. I'm excited to talk to him. That is next. This is the Shoulda Bet More podcast. All right, we are back. Shoulda Bet More podcast. You can hear him on The Herd with Colin Cowherd, Fox Straight Fire podcast. First time guest. It is the great Jason McIntyre. Jason, what's up, man? Thanks for doing this. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, buddy. Happy to be here.
All right, we are inching closer to the finals. I know you've been on the Mavericks. I remember seeing the email too in our little Fox chain. Why Dallas is such a great bet to win the finals. This was right before the Oklahoma City series started about a month ago now, and I didn't bet it because I'm an idiot, but I'm guessing you have some good numbers in your pocket here with Dallas.
Yeah, I've had a good run. I had them before the playoffs and then before the Minnesota series when everybody loved them. I just wish I had been able to get this info to that Padres guy, Marcano. I mean, did you see that he lost 95% of his baseball bets?
It's hard to believe. That's almost
95!
more impressive. 95%. Yeah, I don't know what he's betting. I mean, I guess when you're just doing long shot parlay after long shot parlay, and I guess he played for the Pirates and he was tying the Pirates into his parlays, which, boy, if you're not going to get suspended for betting, you should get suspended for just being an idiot.
Being an idiot, yes. I mean, what is he doing? Same game parlays? Like, I mean, come on. Losing 95% of your bets on MLB games. So now he's what, banned for life?
He's banned for life. And I saw the guy, I think it was Jay Groom was his name. And I'd heard of him, and I really hadn't heard of many of these players caught up in this scandal. And Jason's talking about the betting scandal where a bunch of these guys got caught betting on games where their teams were involved. The guy Groom made two bets for a total of $99.40, lost a year of pay, suspended for a year, made $740 grand a year.
Off of $99 bets?
Two bets that combined for $99. So I guess, I don't know, $50 a game.
I mean, that is brutal. And listen, I'll be honest. I'm the first guy who says, listen, there's no shame in putting pizza money on a long shot. By the way, I have a finals bet. I have Drew Holiday 50-1 to be finals MVP. Just pizza money, just some action, for fun. Obviously, he's probably not going to win it. But the argument, I wrote this up for Fox Sports, was the last role player to win a finals MVP was Iguodala. And he did it while averaging 16 and 8 and 5 or whatever. Those are numbers Holiday can match. And Iguodala primarily got it because of his defense on LeBron. Now, I'm not saying Holiday's going to shut down Kyrie or Luka. That's impossible. But if he has a couple game-changing plays and they win a couple close ones, maybe the Mavs are due some regression from all this late-game good fortune they've had. Maybe things swing for Holiday, because I'll be honest, Tatum, a lot of people seem like they're doubting him. And remember, this comes down to voters, Will. And the media, for whatever reason, doesn't seem to love Jason Tatum. They love Embiid. You see these guys, they love Joel Embiid. And they don't seem to love Tatum. So then it becomes can Jaylen Brown go off? Well, Brown's going to be occupied with a lot of Luka defense. And I don't know. I don't know. It's a long shot. You could scoff, but just pizza money, I think it is for fun on Drew Holiday.
No scoffing here. I brought it up on my Monday show. Same reason,
nice.
Same sort of thought process where, hey, if he guards Luka and he holds him to a couple 8 of 24, 8 of 25, Same thing where people are kind of lukewarm on Tatum. Brown just got his award. Why can't Holiday 50? I like a little more. I remember when Iguodala won, he was like 100-1. Feels like they
Wow.
short pay all these long shots now, but hey, 50-1, it's at least a fun one.
What I didn't know Iguodala was 100-1. Well,
100-1.
great
Well, he
minds,
was
you know,
coming
as they
off the
say.
bench.
That's right. He was like the super sixth man. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, think about it too. He's on a team with Curry and Clay, and he's coming off the bench. I mean, that's the thing. NBA Finals MVP. It's even more chalky than Super Bowl. The whole thing is how the quarterback always wins. Super Bowl, you at least get like once in a while a defensive player, a receiver. Edelman won it one year. It's always the star with the NBA. But this is one year where who knows? Maybe Holiday could win. What are your just general thoughts in this series? Boston like a 2-1 favorite. Money's coming on Dallas, which I can understand. Feels like there's a lot of sentiment for Dallas. Who are you picking and how many games?
Yeah, it's tough because the season-long data backs up Boston in every way, shape, or form. I think that's probably why they're heavy favorites. But I don't know, some of the numbers they have not been a covering machine of late. Maybe the prices are inflated, and they just I don't know. I didn't think they dispatched Indiana the way that I thought they would. And Dallas as a dog, I think, is 6-1 straight up in their last 7. For some reason, I guess the market doubts them. Remember, they were like 8th in the West around the trade deadline, 8th or
Right.
9th. And then they add PJ Washington and Gafford, and things just start clicking for them. And Lively grows up a little bit. And now they're a juggernaut. And I don't know, Will, you do a lot of gambling. Do you trust the
I do.
season-long data, or are you a what have you done for me lately kind of guy?
I mean, it's always a balance of the two. I picked Boston in 7. I can certainly see the appeal of Dallas because I mean, first of all, you're getting a plus price with a nice fat number next to it. You're getting the best player in Luka, and that's a lot right there. The recreational better isn't going to lay minus 230, minus 220. And I made this point too. All the sharp money is going to be on Dallas because any money on Boston can't be sharp because it was clear weeks ago, if not months ago, Boston was going to be in this final. So if you're laying minus 220, minus 230, you're late. You should have just taken Boston, a few weeks, a month ago, where, hey, they're going to cakewalk into the finals. They have cakewalked into the finals. So I think there's not anything counteracting the Dallas bets because anybody who's smart and has any sense of gambling is not going to be, they're way late to the party if they're betting Boston.
What about waiting for game 1 to end? We've seen Dallas struggle in game 1. They got blown out by double digits against the Thunder and the Paperclips in the first 2 rounds. They did rebound for game 1 against Minnesota. But I wonder if Boston's 6.5 in game 1.
Yes.
So let's say Boston wins game 1. Then they'll probably be what, minus 300 for the series? Minus 325
if
more,
not
more?
that.
350?
Yep, if not that.
So then you go Dallas the other way, and we know Luka is the king of adjustments and manipulating defenses, and maybe there's more value in Dallas that way. But then if Boston wins by 15, everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, Boston's got the series; they're the better team," and that's when it's tough to make the wager. But yeah, I'll go Dallas in 6. I've been riding the Mavs. I'm a Luka guy. I had Preston Johnson, Sports Cheetah.
Yes,
I had him on my pod maybe 2021, and he was raving. He's like, I'm just telling you, Luka's going to be like an all-timer. And I was like, after 2 years, really? And, I mean, if I had bought Luka stock then, holy hell, like all he does is just destroy teams, whether it's the Paperclips in the first 2 rounds. I know they lost, but the Phoenix Suns on the road, I know he couldn't take down the Warriors, but he didn't have much help. I'm a believer in Luka. I think he's the best player in the league. You can have Jokic. I'll start my team with Luka, and I'll feel pretty confident that I'd win.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy who won championships as a teenager, playing amongst men in some of those leagues. I know, Americans don't think of those leagues and wherever he's playing in terms of being legitimate or on the same level as the NBA, which they're not. But hey, when you're a teenager winning championships like he has, that obviously shows. And just tremendous scorer, tremendous passer, the size too. I mean, he's a legit 6'8", 6'9". He can see over the defense and just have the vision to throw these passes. He's a tremendous player. He's shaping up to be an all-time great player. Absolutely.
Will you do a lot of individual player bets? I don't know, Derek White overs or whatever. I don't know is that something you do in the finals? Just because I don't bet on baseball. And I just feel like after the NBA season, it's basically like I'm taking the summer off until NFL and college football are back.
I will. I'll probably wait a game and just get a feel for it. I mean, I have buddies that do it. And sometimes it's as simple as tailing their picks. Like, hey, they run models and this number spits out this. But I do think when we're all watching the same series, you can get a feel for usage and, hey, this team is going to use this guy much, or they have to play this guy less. So I do think when you're watching a series and really focused on every minute of the series, like we will be for the finals, you can get a good feel for that. Anything jump out to you in terms of, I don't know if you've looked these
Yeah.
over. Yeah, points leader, points leader, assist leader, rebounds leader. There's so many different ways to bet this stuff. So take it whatever
Yeah,
direction you want.
I'm more of a individual game over unders. The guy that I'm going to be looking to back is Maxi Kleber. He was injured, obviously, and missed a lot of the OKC. I think. Well, no, it was the Minnesota series. He missed a lot of that, but he's back. And if you look at his history, he's a very good defender. And I just wonder, Dallas. I know Lively and Gafford have been instrumental defensively in the middle, but Boston's more of a 5-out, and you can't hide Gafford or Lively on Rudy Gobert. You know, you can't hide them in kind of near the paint because Porzingis, he's not going to be posting up. So I wonder if we'll see some new lineups with Maxey at the 5 and PJ Washington at the 4. And my guess is Kleber will have an opportunity to go off. Remember, game 5 against OKC, he had 5 threes. Or maybe it was, no, I'm sorry, it was the Clippers, game 5, that pivotal game 5 where they won by like 30 in LA. But it was 2-2, and it was like, oh, they're going back to LA. They can't lose. Kleber hits 5 threes. I think he hit 4 in the third quarter. So I'll be looking at his props. My guess is they'll be low to start, but I think he's going to get more minutes. The only question is, where do those minutes come from? And my guess is probably Gafford. Because I think Lively's just, I mean, you got to have him out there. He's such a game changer. But I think Kleber will play more than the markets are expecting him to.
Interesting. And I just recorded my open. Nobody's heard it, but apparently you did, because I said the same thing about Boston.
No way.
Out,
Are you serious?
Where you don't have to guard Gobert on the perimeter. You don't have to guard Giddy on the perimeter. I mean, there were just guys on the other team where you didn't have to go out there. There wasn't 5 shooters on the court. And Boston is going to have 5 shooters. But it's been since 2016 since we've had a game 7. I'm rooting for a game 7. The playoffs, let's be honest, the playoffs have been kind of a dud. The East fell apart with all the injuries. Knicks Sixers was good. It had its moments, but the East fell apart with the injuries. The West, I don't know. It was just weird. It wasn't as compelling as I thought it would be. I thought we were set up for a great finals, and really it fell apart right away with Zion and Butler, both those guys for the 8 seeds getting hurt. It was like, uh-oh, this is you know, Giannis never came back. It's just a lot of injuries, a lot of bad series, a lot of bad games.
Do you anticipate like any major shifts in like thought process among teams with this whole second apron stuff and massive luxury tax bills? Because it seems like the league doesn't want super teams anymore. They want to help the little guy. They don't want to see Kevin Durant leaving, you know, OKC to go to they don't want that anymore for some dumb reason. And it almost is. I think that's kind of foolish. Like, I think that's exciting. Now we're heading into the summer, and it's like, who are the big names that could be on the move? Well, we'll see what Donovan Mitchell does. All right. I don't think he's tilting the finals odds, you know, and then who's the other guy? Like kind of a quasi washed Klay Thompson. I don't, and the offseason was where the interest was. So maybe Paul George moves. Nobody thinks LeBron's going anywhere. I don't know. I do wonder if we're going to see some changes around the league as owners get a little cheap and they don't want to pay $75 million in a luxury tax bill. We know the Minnesota owner's cheap. The Karl Anthony Towns thing could be the most fascinating, but we don't even know who their owner is going to be in a month. So I don't know. I'm a big NBA guy. NFL first, but NBA second probably. And I hope the league's going in the right direction with this parity stuff. I don't know.
Yep, I agree with all that. And plus, I think and here's what I don't like about it. And I agree. I think the super team is good. You want the villain, you want the team where everybody's gunning for him. But you're punishing these teams that are drafting well. Like OKC's built up all these assets, made all these savvy trades. You're going to have to pick and choose. You're not going to be able to afford all of them. Like Denver's drafted well. You can't really afford all these guys. So it's not really fair. You put yourself in a position as a GM where you have all these assets, all these good picks. Well, you know what? You're going to have to give some away because you can't afford all of it, which I don't love. I don't think that's completely fair.
We're seeing something similar. I think in the NFL, I've been pushing for like a couple weeks this whole wide receiver bubble. You know, you hear Tyreek Hill now is like, well, wait a minute. The wide receiver market's been reset. I need a new deal. Well, because Justin Jefferson got 35 mil. I mean, Bengals fans, I don't know, Will, if you follow this closely, but like T. Higgins wants money and he's basically not going to get it. Basically, they're looking at what, 50 to 55 for Burrow. And then, I mean, I guess 35 for Jamar Chase. So now 2 people are tying up $90 million of your salary cap. I just don't think that's sustainable. And some of these receivers like Puka, Nakua, and Tank Dell, they've hit hard and they were mid-round picks. And I just think the wide receiver depth is so great. that I'm not paying. I'm sorry. Like, I would sooner look to ship CD Lamb for a bunch of picks than I would pay him $35 million a year. I just think that's insane.
Is there anybody in the NFL, either a Ward, a future, a team you're higher on, lower on, any bets you've eyed or made so far for the season coming up here with the schedule coming out a month or so ago?
Well, Adam Chernoff, obviously market mover with Right Angle Sports. I had looked at Carolina because someone bad always comes out of nowhere. Like Houston last year came out of absolutely nowhere. And I had been looking at Carolina, and then those guys moved the number, I think, from 4.5 to 5.5.
Yeah.
And I don't think Carolina is great, but that division I think is massively overrated. Like the Saints are not very good. The Bucks, I think there's a world where Carolina wins 6 or 7 games. I mean, Bryce Young, you're basically buying a guy who, 14 months ago, Bryce Young was considered like an awesome quarterback prospect, the slam dunk #1. And now what? Because he had no receivers, he's total trash. So I like Canales. I think Bryce Young bounces back. I think the Panthers are still, even at 5.5, I would take the over. You're not getting the best number, but I think they'll be competitive. I do think my Jets are going to be there, assuming health. I don't know if this guy, Mike Clay, ranks rosters, and he goes through every positional group, and he essentially thinks the Jets have the second best roster after the Niners. And then you start to dig in, and you're like, oh, damn, they got some depth here. Their defensive front seven is maybe the best in the league. And then Sauce Gardner's still on the cheap, Garrett Wilson. And you start to look, and you're like, all right, well, they improved the offensive line. Both tackles are better. If Rodgers is healthy off the Achilles, and he stays out of politics and RFK and Fauci and all this nonsense, and he's locked in, why can't they win 11 or 12? I mean, Miami's not going to be as good. We know the Patriots are trash. And I don't think Buffalo's going to be as good. I don't see why the Jets don't win the division. And I don't know. You tell me, Will, who's Josh Allen throwing to besides Kincaid and the kid Cook out of the backfield?
Once again, I am very flattered that you read my column at Fox Sports on the Jets plus 190.
Yes, yes.
We didn't plan this. We really didn't even plan this. I just went through it and looked at all these teams' schedules. We always hear, hey, tough schedule, easy schedule. I did opponents' projected wins. So I just picked one book. I think I used the DraftKings numbers. Bills' opponents are projected to win, I think, 139.5 games. Dolphins opponents projected to win 143.5 games. Jets opponents are only projected to win 120. Jets have a massive schedule advantage, and the Patriots are at 154.5. Patriots in for a long schedule. The Bills have to play every team in the conference title game from last year, 4 games against the Jets and the Dolphins and the Texans. So 9 of their 17 games are, I mean, just Ravens, Chiefs, 49ers, Lions, Jets, Dolphins, at Texans. That's 9 of your 17 games. Meanwhile, I know the Jets have the tough opener against San Fran, but after that, it does ease up a little bit. And look, their quarterback play was awful last year. They still won 7 games. I mean, getting to 11 is not that far-fetched. Plus, they kind of ate their vegetables with the offensive line. They adjusted through the draft, through trade. They drafted a kid. So their line, which was a disaster last year, if it can at least be average with that defense, which their defense will even be better because they're not going to be on the field all the time, and they're going to be more motivated because they're not going to have to win the game by themselves. I love the Jets. I'll admit I loved them last year. I mean, could say I was wrong. I mean, it was 4 plays in. We never got to see it. I'm very high on the Jets, and I'm rooting for it. Just as a neutral fan, I do want to see Rodgers, with another chance here at a contender.
Hey, do you have anything on the Chargers at all? And Harbaugh and Herbert? That one's a challenging one. I think I'm going to be on the over just because of the Harbaugh effect. But man, they lost a lot of guys. Their roster looks reshaped. It could take a year, but I'm betting on Herbert and Harbaugh essentially.
I heard somebody make the point that Harbaugh's a really good coach. I've heard somebody make the point, and Harbaugh's going to win anywhere, where it's almost like when he took over Michigan, it took him a few years to catch Ohio State. That he's in a similar spot where it's going to take him a few years to catch the Chiefs. He's going to have to rebuild the roster, but they're going to be competent. They're going to be tougher. They're going to be better on defense. They're not going to do the weird stuff with, going for it. They're just going to be more buttoned up. So, I mean, I would expect them with Harbaugh and Herbert. That's probably enough to get you over 500. I know they lost a lot of guys, but those guys didn't play a lot anyway. The Keenan Allens, the Austin Ecklers, Mike Williams, those guys were always hurt. So I don't know that they're like a legitimate AFC title game, Super Bowl contender, but them being better and competitive, that's just been Harbaugh's MO. I remember the 49ers weren't any good. He took over for them and they were instantly better. So Harbaugh's going to win wherever he goes. I think they'll be good. I don't think they'll be great.
I was looking at, I haven't bet him yet. I will be at Vegas soon, but Houston Texans under, just it feels like everybody loves them.
Yes.
Great season with Stroud, add Diggs, but the schedule is absolutely brutal. They could get off to a good start. Colts, Bears, Vikings, Jags. There's certainly winnable. Could be 3-1, 4-0. Who knows? But after that, it is just landmine after landmine, and it just feels a little overvalued. A lot of newness. I think I saw they added something like 11 free agents, and like 8 of them may start. Just crazy numbers. But then the other team, and I'm not like a hater because I'm a Jets fan, but I do believe you got to go under Bills, you go under Dolphins, and yes, Ravens. I have a guy who comes on my podcast, Clev TA, and he's run some numbers, and he essentially said the Ravens have lost more guys who played over 50% of the snaps than any team in recent memory. Like, it hasn't happened. And it's not, they didn't lose any big time superstars. They just lost a lot of innings eaters. And I don't know. I haven't looked in depth at their drafts in recent years to see if they can backfill it. But I think the Ravens will regress a little bit. And I don't know, losing Odell Beckham, all of a sudden you wonder about that wide receiver room, the way they ended with that loss. So I'm not as high on the Ravens this year.
That makes some sense. They lost a ton of their offensive line too, which again, it's not big names, but there's a continuity aspect when you're trying to break in a new offensive line like that. And the defensive coordinator McDonald, who went to Seattle, I know a lot of people are high on him. That's a big one. Last one before we get out of here. I'm so down on the WNBA. The way they've treated Clark, the whole discourse around it is really a bummer. I know you had strong opinions. I think we're on the same page here. What's your just takeaway on how they've treated her and everything, the fallout since?
Well, I'm curious. So first, I'll be honest. I went to a WNBA game, Fever Sparks out here in LA. Went with the fam. It was Caitlin Clark's first win ever. It was a really good game. That being said, I'd never been to a WNBA game. I didn't watch the league on TV previously. I know I'm sure you follow the aces who win a lot. I am just curious. Do you feel like maybe the league is not handling the new coverage like it should? Whether it's the players, the coaches, it almost feels like there's such a crush. Everybody's looking to get a piece of the league and talk about it. I mean, when you see them on like ABC, and not even sports, just like ABC News talking about it, People Magazine, Us Weekly, this stuff is everywhere. And I just wonder if it's a bit of a challenge, A, for the league, and B, for some of these players. Like, I know they want that, and everybody says I want the coverage, I deserve it, blah, blah, blah. And then you start getting it, and then you open your phone, and these are girls who have grown up on their phone, 20-year-olds, they've had a phone for 15 years. And it's just a torrent of commentary that you're not used to. I don't know, Will. It feels like it's off to a bit of a rocky start.
I think I completely agree. I think it was Ryan Glassbeagle who said it's almost like an athlete who grows 8 or 9 inches in 1 year and they sort of lose their coordination. It takes a year for the coordination to catch up. You said it perfectly. Hey, you're not talking about us. Hey, we don't get any attention. Well, now you got the attention and you're not loving it. So, I mean, Clark's teammates not standing up for her.
Yeah.
Not calling that a flagrant foul, letting her, and you made the point, hey, don't kill the golden goose. You wouldn't let somebody on the Raiders just tee off on Mahomes when he's standing around the auto and not throw, a flag. That guy'd be thrown in jail. Yeah. Brady, Mahomes, you protect your stars. I know Clark's not on that level. She hasn't won, but I mean, just have some common sense. And it's exposed a lot in terms of how that league is run and just a lot of the petty jealousies. And there's certainly a lot at play. Now media is backfiring at each other, and there's so many different tentacles coming from it that it's been fascinating to watch. But I completely agree. It's too much too soon. And they haven't been able to handle it. They haven't handled it well here this last week or so.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like how this it gets political and then racial. Like, I don't like all that. We don't need to talk about that crap. But that being said, like, listen, Clark is the star of the league. And, well, you know this. If she goes down with an injury due to some cheap shot or concussion or whatever, and she's out, let's just say 2 weeks, I could guarantee you're not touching WNBA in any way, shape, or form on any topic. Social media, radio, TV, podcast. Nobody is. And I'm sorry, that's just how it is, right? Like, now Caitlin Clark is like a target, and it's like an interesting storyline. But if she were to go away and get hurt, it's just like NFL. When Aaron Rodgers goes down, everybody looks at the schedule and is like, holy shit, we got Zach Wilson in prime time like 3 times? You got to be kidding me. And that's when it's like, okay, the league's like, okay, let's get them out of prime time. Let's get someone else in there. The fans don't want to see that. They want to see Caitlin Clark. Now, I don't know. I mean, the Angel Reese stuff is getting to next level where she's basically like, hey, it's not just Caitlin Clark. It's me too.
Crediting yourself, I know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just curious. Do you bounce any of this stuff off your mom or your girlfriend or your side piece, wife, whatever? Like, I'm just curious what their reaction is. Like, I know how the guys think, but I'm just curious what the women think because, my wife sees it. It's like, what the hell's going on? Like, she's a Clark fan, obviously, but it's just kind of stunning that someone would body check a player when the ball's not even in bounds, and then Angel Reese would stand up and cheer it from the bench.
Very bizarre. My wife's takeaway was that where her teammate's the defender, which I completely agree with. And maybe that's more of a male-female thing where, hey, guys are going to stand up for their own females are less confrontational. I don't know about that, but just as your teammate, I would think you'd be there to to have her back, help her up. There's a lot. Again, there's so much at play here with the jealousy, but it's no, it's not a good look. It's really not. And look, we're recording this on a Wednesday, and it's not opinions. Clark sells out. Clark gets through the roof ratings. Angel Reese plays in Chicago. It's a 10,000 capacity arena. It's not sold out for the Wednesday game. So you could give yourself credit all you want. It's just there's facts and there's opinions, and these are just facts.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, man.
Jason, you're the man. I appreciate you coming on. Hopefully we'll do this again soon. Let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, you just you can come and barrage me with hate takes on Twitter because that's what it is. It's a hate machine. I prefer Instagram, but anyways, the Herd Straight Fire podcast. I'm trying to be out there. Although when the NBA finals are done, man, I got to power down, get ready for NFL. Right? I mean, college football is going to be massive this season. Like with the Big Ten adding USC and teams, and the SEC's gotten better. I just feel like college football. It's going to be 7-day work weeks all fall and winter.
And the Friday night Fox games are good. And you're right. The games just break your brain with some of these teams are in the same college. Texas versus Georgia in a conference game. Sure. I guess. I mean, it's so new. It's so different. I guess we'll get used to it eventually. More playoff games. It's definitely a new world of college football. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. Hopefully we'll do this again soon.
All right, buddy. Later.
All right, that will do it. Thank you to Jason McIntyre. We will be back Friday. We will have game 1 of the finals in the book. We'll have that to discuss. Look forward to game 2. See you guys then.